It might be 8 o'clock by the time we get on.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of Winephabet Street. It is so difficult to believe that we are in our 53rd month. We are starting season 3 here with Winephabet Street, and we are back to A, and we have an exciting grape variety for you. We have Areni here, which is from Armenia, and we have Wines of Armenia with us today to talk about everything about Areni. But before we get into that, for those of you who do not know me, my name is Lori. I am your co-host here tonight, and I am owner of Dracena Wines. I am a podcaster, obviously, and an award-winning blogger. And I am Somm Day certified champagne specialist, Côte d'Aron specialist, and I am signing up to be the Wine Scholar Guild of Spain, Spanish wine. So that is my next adventure. And my co-host is Debbie Giaquindo.
And yes, I'm Debbie Giaquindo, and I can't wait to hear about the Spain course because I want to take that. I'm a certified specialist of wine and a wine location specialist in port and champagne, and just recently a certified sherry wine specialist. I'm the author of Tapping the Hudson Valley, Day Trips and Weekend Itineraries Visiting the Hudson Valley Area. And I'm also a partner in a restaurant, Trio North Wildwood, and we opened for the season April 1st. And I think that's about it. If I missed something, well, I just can't.
He'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah. And with us today from Wines of Armenia is Stefan, and forgive me if I pronounce your last name wrong, but I'm going to give it a whirl. Bagassarian?
Well, you did better than a lot of other people. It's Stefan Bagassarian.
Okay. That's Bagassarian.
You were close, Deb. You were close.
With Wines of Armenia. And Stefan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks for having me here. It's a great opportunity for me. I love talking about Armenian wines, and happy to do it with you guys tonight as well. My name is Stefan Bagassarian. We are winesofarmenia.com, and we're the largest retailer of Armenian wines in the United States. Personally, I'm a lawyer by training. However, a while back, I decided I want to pursue my passion in wine, so I jumped in head first into the wine business, and I'm happy to have done it. We are importers, we are distributors, and we are online retailers of wines, Armenian wines and French wines and other wines as well. But one of our main focal points are Armenian wines, and we're happy to do it. This is Armenian wines. It's an exciting time for Armenian wines, and a lot of happening. I always say that Armenian wines are going through a renaissance right now, and we'll talk more about it later on. But it's a really, really exciting time. Some phenomenal wines are coming out of Armenia, and we're happy to bring them to you.
Well, I am so excited to have you on because you can hear the passion for Armenian wines in your voice. And you were generous enough to send Debbie and I both 3 bottles of Areni. So we are going to be tasting through them, and you're going to guide us through, hopefully, of how they are similar and the differences between them. Because of the expressions and the winemakers' philosophies of winemaking. So I'm very excited. So Deb, I don't know which one you are picking up first.
Well, you pick up and
to do our clink, to do our little clink. I have Old Bridge.
Okay, I'll take Noah.
Okay. And so I'm going to raise our glass for our first clink because Stefan, Debbie and I have agreed like 3 years ago that we wouldn't drink until we see each other on screen. So it is clink time. Yeah. So slancha.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Nice.
All right, we're going to get into this. Oh, because that is good.
That is good
stuff.
I'm an Armenia wines virgin, so this is really, I'm impressed.
All right.
You can only say that once.
Yeah.
That's it. She's done. She's done. All right. Let's see if we can get Elmo to work this time.
All right. Should be in there. Okay.
It's not coming. There we go. All right. Did you hear sound, Deb?
I did. We lost Stefan.
We left Stefan. We'll kind of just talk a chat before. But there
Stefan,
he
yeah?
is. He's back. He's back.
I don't see you guys though.
You don't see us. Uh-oh.
Oh, really?
We can see
Okay, now
you.
I do. Okay, now I do.
Okay. All right. All right. So, Stefan, I'm going to share this with you. That might be the very first time that Elmo actually worked all the way through without an error. We normally have multiple Elmos or Elmo possessed and starts going in and out or anything. But I muted myself on everything. Debbie said she heard the music. I'm pretty excited.
I heard the music too, by the way.
Woo! All right. All right. So see, third season, The Charm. I think I conquered Elmo.
Wonderful.
All right. So let's start off with a little bit about you. So you had said that you're a lawyer by trade, and then you decided to get into the wine game and you fell in love. So there's loads of people who get into the wine game, but you got very specific and fell in love with Armenian wines. So what happened? What did you find? What did you taste that you said, I love Armenia wine?
Okay. Well, I mean, it takes a little bit more time than that. Everything is a process. When I decided I wanted to get into wine business, initially it wasn't the Armenian wine that grabbed my attention. It was South American wines. I used to travel on business to Brazil, Argentina, Chile as a lawyer. So I got to have a chance to taste, to be with, and be among the winemakers in Argentina, in Brazil. Imagine there's some phenomenal wines coming out of Brazil, but not particularly not on the West Coast, some on the East Coast. But nevertheless, I started getting into this whole wine world, and eventually started my business in the United States of importing wine from South America and from Europe. That I'm Armenian by origin, so I always had this affinity towards Armenian products. And about 15 years ago, had you told me that, Stepan, one day you're going to be selling a lot of Armenian wines, I would have told you, what have you been drinking? Let's face it, about 20 years ago, Armenian wines weren't as good as they are right now. There was not much effort put into it, given the lingering effects of communism, that Armenia was part of the Soviet Union about 30 years ago. So there wasn't that much effort put into quality wines. But about 16 years ago, there was this slow movement started happening in Armenia, thanks also to a great deal of diasporan Armenians going back to Armenia and taking with them technology, investment, and know-how. I mean, Armenia is the cradle of wine. There have been archaeological finds going back 6,100 years, finding winemaking wineries, clay jars for wine purification, for wine aging. And they've done DNA testing on those jars, and they found the same DNA within those jars. So Armenia is the cradle of wine. However, there was a long lag time whereby, can you see me?
Yep.
Okay, I do not see you. So thanks to foreign investment by diasporan Armenians, Armenia is going through this renaissance, and things have been tremendous. People seem to love the wines. People seem to enjoy the wines, and people are supporting the brand, supporting the wines, and this is because the quality has improved tremendously. And we're happy to be part of this. And that's when the process started of getting more and more into Armenian wines and supporting the wineries, supporting the winemakers, and bringing them to the greater United States for people to enjoy something new, something different, something great, something delicious.
That's wonderful.
That is great. So now a little bit about the Areni grape. Can you tell us about it?
I don't see you guys.
Well, we see you.
Okay.
We see you. So we'll let you know when we don't see
no
you.
problem. Areni is one of those quintessential Armenian grape varietals. Right now, it's a majority of the wines, red wines, that are coming out of Armenia are made from Areni grapes. Areni goes back to the village of Areni, which is in the Vayotzor province of Armenia, which is about southeastern part of Armenia and a 2-hour drive from Yerevan, the capital of Armenia. Within this region, there is this area, this village called Areni. And that's where they found these archaeological sites tracing the Areni grape going back 6,100 years. That's where they believe it started, this grape started, this indigenous grape varietal started. And some stories tell us that it was Noi who planted these years and years and years and years ago. But be that as it may, Areni is a tough, thick-skinned, red grape varietal which needs to be tamed. And the way they tame this historically is aging these in clay jars. And nowadays, however, they age both in clay jars, which they call amphora in some other regions, as well as in Artsakh or Armenian oak barrels. And that tames the grape and gives you this pure fruit, which is absolutely delicious.
And you said Armenian oak barrels? Are you getting the wood from Armenia? Or
absolutely, there's this thing called Armenian oak. These are oak trees that grow in the Caucasus, in Armenia, in Artsakh, in the whole region. And Armenian oak or the Caucasian oak tends to be denser and thicker than French oak, which helps age and tame the Areni grape. Because I said it has a very tough skin and tends to be tannic initially. You need to be able to soften that up through aging. Historically, they had done that within the amphora clay jars over a long period of time. In the modern days, they do it in these Armenian oak barrels, which serves the same purpose. Of course, the taste profile tends to be different because it picks up characteristics from the oak itself.
And what are those characteristics of that oak?
Areni, depending on the winemaker, depending on the appellation that the grapes are from, you have this sour cherry and a lot of dark fruit. Some are softer than others, but this sour cherry and dark fruit are omnipresent in all of Areni wines at different degrees, depending on the winemaker, the characteristics, the appellation, and how long they've aged these grapes.
And now you said that the grape is Areni and the region is also Areni. So the grape was named. So we have this entire region of Armenia that produces grapes. But is this the region? Is that Areni region, the region where they believe is the actual home of the grape?
This is the wine-growing regions of Armenia.
Okay.
And if you look at the orange part here,
yep,
that's called Vayotzor. Right now, most Armenian grape wines are coming from this area, Vayotzor. Within Vayotzor, there is a place called Areni village. And that's where they believe this grape was first planted about 8,000 to 9,000 years ago.
Okay.
and that's where it's mostly Areni is a red grape varietal, as I said, and a lot of it is going from here. But that's where the most of Armenian grapes and most of Areni. However, Areni is planted throughout Armenia, and it's indigenous to Armenia. And I don't know of any other locations that are growing Areni varietals that I know of, but it's prominent in Armenia. It's indigenous to this region, and it seems to be doing very well right now. And given different interpretations, given different treatments, depending on the winemaker and what are they trying to achieve.
Okay.
Shall we maybe taste one of the wines and talk about?
Oh,
Let's
twist
taste.
my
Tell
arm.
me which one you're tasting so I can talk about them.
Yes. Which one do you want to start with? Why don't you start with the Noah and go from?
Yes, that sounds like a good idea.
Okay.
So, for those of you that are watching, this is the Noah. So it is NOA. This is a 2017 Areni Noir, so red. And it is from, as Stefan had said, from the Viots d'Azur region.
Correct.
Okay. Now, this says, before we taste, this says Areni Noir. Are winemakers doing a white wine from Areni?
No.
Okay.
The grape is Areni. Some wineries, in order to find some parallels in the outside world, call it Areni Noir to sound or to make people aware that it's similar to, let's say, although it has nothing to do with Pinot Noir, it just sounds more acceptable if they put the name Areni Noir. Some wineries call it Areni Noir, others call it Areni. I personally prefer if they just call it Areni.
Okay.
But in order to find more acceptance, maybe in the outside world, they add the noir into it just to designate that, oh yeah, it's a red grape varietal. Although it is only red grape varietal, and there's no white Areni per se.
Okay. Well, I think that I can understand why they're putting the noir, because especially Americans, they're very timid to pick up a bottle that they don't know what it is. And like, for example, this bottle is dark. Like it's a dark bottle, so you can't really see into it. So as an American who's not familiar with Areni, I'm going to go, is this a white? Is this a red? What am I getting here? So I can understand why they would want to put the noir on there. Americans are a little hesitant when they don't know what's going on. But
I kind of like on the label here around here. It has year, and it has everything that you wanted to know about the wine, the variety, color, what the characteristics are of it. I just think it's kind of cute.
It's like a tasting because
profile. I certainly can't read because I need a magnifying glass now to read the back of the bottle. But that's because my eyes are bad.
Yes. Yeah. But it is a very cool bottle. And yes, this says the top says 100% Areni Noir, medium ruby, pronounced aromas of red cherry, black currant, and subtle violet notes with a touch of spiciness. So
I actually got pretty much that. And I think...
Oh, wow. Now,
isn't it?
So the first one I picked up when we clinked before Elmo was Old Bridge. This is much more floral essence than the old Bridge.
Correct.
Yeah. I just smelled the Old Bridge, and it's much more dense berry.
Mm-hmm.
I thought just from my first smell.
So, Stefan, can you tell us a little bit about this winery and
right.
or winemaker?
Noah of Areni is a modern interpretation of the Areni grape. This winery is owned by a Swiss winery that they've decided as their first venture out of Switzerland is to make wine in Armenia with Armenian indigenous varietal. So this is a modern interpretation of the Areni grape and Armenian wine in general, where it's the fruit is a lot more pronounced,
Okay.
and both in the nose and on the palate. And so there's longer. So it is a modern interpretation of it. So you have a lot of dark cherry in here, some spiciness on the finish. The nose is very fruity, and this is a wine that's, in the United States, in California in particular, we make a lot of fruit-forward wines. We are easy to drink. You don't need food with them. You just drink it with your friends at a gathering, or with food for that matter, but nevertheless, you don't need food. This is an example of that, where they are making wine for easy to drink purposes, as opposed to requiring more of a meal or a gathering, for making more less formal drinking. The winery has not spared a dime or a penny or a dollar in these packages. These are beautifully packaged wines, and the wine inside matches the outside packaging. Where as I say, it's a foreign company that they decide to invest in Armenia because they believe that Armenia presents a great opportunity, and they export these wines throughout Europe. And now we also bring it to the United States right now, and they're doing very well. Besides this Areni, they have a Areni reserve at a higher level, which is more refined, I would say, and the best of the barrels have been put together for that particular tasting, for that particular bottling. It also has a white and a rosé. The rosé is made with Areni grapes again, whereas the white is made with Voskehat grapes again. And the bottles are quite different. You will not mistake the. If you see these next to each other, you would know which is the white, which is the red, which is the rosé, because the bottles are quite different when it comes
Deb, what
to
do
the
you
packaging.
think?
I like it. And you know what? This is a nice summer red where it's not really heavy. You can sit and drink it. It's nice.
I am loving the aromatics of it. The floral aromatics. And then it's interesting on the finish, it is medium minus to me in body. It's not, I wouldn't call it a light bodied wine. It's got some body to it, but the acid backbone is beautiful. It's well structured, and the cherry that's there and the darker fruit is there. But on my palate, when I finally swallow it, there is spiciness that just kind of hangs out on your tongue.
On the finish,
right?
Yeah, I wrote
this.
Nice spice on the
I
finish.
can give you some reference points.
Yes.
Some people have compared Areni to a range between a Pinot Noir and a Tempranillo. If you take these two wines, and depending on the winemaker, depending on the aging, depending on the overall treatment, the Arenis will fall somewhere between a Pinot Noir and a Tempranillo. That's just, I don't necessarily agree with them, but it gives some people, specifically in the United States, some reference points, what to look for when they're tasting or enjoying these wines.
Between those two, this one to me is sliding over to the Tempranillo side.
See, to me, it's sliding to the Pinot Noir.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's lighter. I think the body on it is lighter. I don't think it's. But
maybe the body, but just that spice.
The spice I like, which is
Tempranillo to me is such a aromatic grape variety, and this is so beautifully aromatic.
So I went by how it tastes.
Mind you, there is no wood treatment here. It's all stainless steel tank.
This one is all stainless steel.
Correct. No wood treatment here.
Wow. Okay, so that is a definite winemaker.
It does have a spiciness then to it. It's like a mix between, for me, a white and black pepper, but it's not a really strong black pepper, but it just kind of lingers in the back of my throat.
And that's where the spiciness comes from. It's all that black pepper, which you also get some of it in Carmenere. If you pay, Carmenere tends to have black pepper, green peppers, whereas he's more of a black pepper. I don't get any green pepper from Arenis.
No.
No.
So before we go on with the wines themselves, Deb, I'm going to steal your question because I want to make sure we cover it, about the winery that was found underground. And can you tell us about that winery that was found underground and how significant that is to the wine world in Areni?
Well, I mean, the excavation was done by the Armenia's archaeological at the archaeology department within the main Armenian University in Yerevan, and it goes back to 2008, and they discovered these caves where they found these wineries and full of winemaking equipment, clay jars. Interesting, they also found the oldest leather shoe there. That's quite. That's the oldest.
They took it off so they could stomp the grapes.
Ever discovered in the world. I mean, and besides, they found these jars. The pictures are everywhere on the internet. They call it Areni One Cave, where these jars, these clay jars, and they've done DNA testing to show that the DNA they found within these jars going back 6,100 years is the same DNA as in today's Areni grapes that are growing 50 yards away from there.
That is
so
incredible.
That's how far this goes. And it also shows that Armenians have been living there 6,100 years ago and making wine. That's very important also.
It is incredible.
This is testament to the overall winemaking tradition, and that's why they call it the cradle of wine, because that's where a lot of these wine making techniques and traditions have started from.
Wow, and they still do it in the clay pots too. So that's
right. I mean, I've seen I haven't been there into the cave yet, but I've seen many pictures of them. It's really, really amazing how similar winemaking was compared to today. You still need the same technique. It doesn't take much. It just takes expertise.
That is beautifully said. It doesn't take much. It just they do it on its own, right? Nobody created wine. It was discovered, right? We didn't invent wine. It naturally occurs.
Right.
You know, if you leave, grapes have the yeast on them naturally, so alcohol fermentation is going to occur naturally. So we just reap the benefits of what was going to occur naturally. And but they have been making wine and celebrating it for so long. Like, that's really the birthplace. Can they go in the cave? Like, can you actually book a tour to go in the cave?
Tours there. You can go inside the cave. Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
On that note, you know how there's this whole craze right now of orange wine, where skin contact white wine, they've had long-term skin contact. That's how winemaking used to be in Armenia. So because they kept the skin out of the white grapes for a long period of time, and now we call it orange wine or natural wine, however you want to call it. But that's how they used to make wine in Armenia a while back also. And right now, they're again coming back to making similar white wines with a great deal of orange skin contact. And they just call it heritage winemaking, because it takes them back to the original way of winemaking. And we have some great examples of that here in the United States right now from Armenia, of phenomenal, very refined, mind you, not necessarily unfiltered, but really refined wines made with skin contact, and white wine with skin contact, that are truly delicious.
Beautiful.
I got, going back to the grape, the Areni grape. I read that it's disease resistant a lot. So what is
Correct.
the weather and the growing season like in Armenia?
But this area tends to be high in altitude, about 4,000 feet in elevation. And the winters are extremely cold. And the soil is very rocky. And so it's not a very hospitable place. So grape roots tend to thrive in these types of situations. So they work really hard. And you're right, they are very thick-skinned grapes, so they are resistant to a lot of diseases. So, and these are Plexora did not affect Armenia or Armenian grape varietals. unlike what happened in Europe. So these are all very old grapes, very old vineyards. Some of them are all very old. As I said, one of the next wines we're going to be tasting are 130-year-old wines.
That's awesome.
And
but we're going to save that one for last.
These are very old, very different in a sense that they're not available anywhere else. And that's why there's a lot of interest from Europe right now of European winemakers who are going to Armenia to learn about these and also apply their European winemaking know-how into Armenian grapes, Armenian wines. You have a lot of French winemakers, there are a lot of Spanish winemakers, a lot of Italian winemakers who are in Armenia right now who are making wine for either Armenian wineries or European wineries.
And you kind of dabbled into it a little bit early on about how, I think we're having conversations in the chat where we're like, oh, I haven't had an Armenian wine. We need to learn more about it. We need to see it. And I think that thankfully, like people like you who have learned to appreciate it and have dedicated themselves to getting those wines out to the people. When you talk about Areni in general, what, you're saying it's a thick skinned, you're saying it, they do amphora, but if somebody wants to purchase an Areni grape from you and you have varying styles, can you kind of go through briefly like that range of what they can expect, a price range, like from lowest to highest, and what they can expect from the expression of those grapes and why it correlates to those wineries?
Yeah, gladly. As I said, we are the largest retailer of Armenian wines in the United States right now, and we ship to 43 states, including and plus District of Columbia. If you go to winesofarmenia.com, very simple, you'll see the entire selection, all the wines there from many, many different wineries, different interpretation, different winemakers, different appellations within Armenia. And we have wines somewhere around $15, $16 and all the way up to $150, depending on your budget and how interested are you. We ask that if you have any questions, contact us. We'll be happy to guide you. And work your way up. If you're looking for something simple, we got that. If you're looking for something distinguished, something different, something higher grade, that's available also. It all depends on your budget and on your taste. And we'll be happy to work with you to offer you guidance and point you to the right direction here and there. And we also offer free shipping on 6 bottles or more. So you can get yourself a small portfolio of these wines, have a great night with your friends and family, and get to taste some of these great treasures. These are beautifully made wines. Most of these are made with, these come from really small wineries. Some of these are ma and pa operations. These are people who have dedicated their lives into making these wines and offering them to the outside world and to the local consumption as well. But these are truly believers in what they're doing, and we're happy to work with them. So it's just a matter of, I know people who are into wine like I am, we always want to try the next thing. What's next available? What's coming next? What's next? And this is the next frontier when it comes to Armenian wine, to wines in general. They are producing some really, really nice wines, very different, very unique, and we're making them available to the wine lovers in the U.S.
Well, thank you. Should we go and taste our second?
Okay. Which will be the second?
The old.
I vote that we taste Old Bridge.
Yeah,
because
me too.
The 130 Reserve, I think, is going to have so many stories about and comments that I'd like to save that for last.
Okay.
So this is the bottle, Old Bridge, and I have no idea what that says above Old Bridge. Stefan, do you know what that says above
That
it?
says Ingamurch. in Armenian, which translates into old bridge.
Oh, okay. And it's a beautiful pic. It's like a pencil sketch of an old bridge.
Correct.
So this, I believe, what I read was it was established in 1998. So it's fairly a pretty new winery.
Correct. This is, you know, when you have children, you're not supposed to say which one you love more. You love them all.
I think you're going to tell a secret.
This wine. I love this. I like them all. Depending on, I like some of. But I love this wine. This was the first wine. This and Voskeny were the first wines we brought to the U.S.
Okay.
And this is it's one of those small wineries that I spoke about a minute ago. How these are mom and pop operation.
Mm-hmm.
This is a father and son operation. The father is the winemaker. The son does everything else. These are truly dedicated people, and they make phenomenal Areni red wines. They also make some white and some rosé, but this is the wine you want to have. This particular wine is aged 2 years in Armenian oak barrels before it is released. It's got a lot of structure, a lot of character, and if you happen to be eating some meat with some fatty steak or ribeye,
I can see that.
This is the wine you want to have. It's got enough tannins to hold up to any fattiness, any meat. And I've had this wine at some high-end steakhouse in Las Vegas or in Los Angeles, and the sommeliers were blown away with this wine. As a matter of fact, if you go to Alexander Steakhouse in Pasadena, you can find this wine by the glass there, because the sommelier was blown away.
I'm liking this.
It's a big wine. Some people tell me, "Oh, is there a Cabernet coming out of Armenia?" I say no, but if that's what you're looking for, you should have the Old Bridge. And the reason it's called Old Bridge is because the winery is right adjacent to the Arpa River, and this bridge is on the old Silk Road. It's one of the bridges on the old Silk Road that people traverse back and forth between Asia and Europe. This bridge still there. You can walk on it, but you're not supposed to drive over it, but you can walk over it. And it's a beautiful setting with the Arpa River, which happens to be in Vayotzor, close to the Areni village.
Okay,
and this is one of my favorite Armenian wine because it's got character, and it gives you the full expression of the fruit, and with all its glory, with all its niceness and fruitiness, and it's just a great wine.
It is. It has much more tannic structure than the first one.
Absolutely. This is a food wine. You need food with this wine.
Yeah, the gums are tasting those tannins, but again, I'm still getting that same cherry, and I'm getting a little hint of like a light menthol, like a light mint.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
I get that too.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's a characteristic of the oak, by the way, that they use.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Right.
So that's why we didn't get it in Noah, because that's stainless steel.
Correct. You know, in Greece, you have this thing called mastika, which is a must that comes out of the bark of the trees. This is similar to that. You get that over there, it's similar to that. So it's very common. But again, the dark cherry, the dark fruit, you're not going to escape from that. It's just that how you mend it, how you fix, how you work with it, and to get the end result that you want. And they do a great job. Imagine, this is 2014 vintage. And this wine was bottled sometime in around 2017. And now we're in 2022. You can still age this wine for another 5 to 10 years, no problem. I have some of the older vintages I'm saving, going back to 2010, I believe. That I'm saving, holding back to see how they're gonna do 5 years, let's say.
Well, that
And
was
I have
actually
no
going
doubt
to
that
be.
this wine is gonna do beautifully.
That was my next question too.
Its structure, because of its tannins, and because of the quality of the fruit and the amazing winemaking that they have over there.
Yeah,
So
that was
they
going to
are
be both of
ageable.
our question. That was going
Yeah.
to be our next question is, what can you expect to, lie this down for? How long can Areni be lied down for? But we're looking at a 2014, and this baby, people, it is
Yes.
fresh. It
Yes.
is
Right.
there is, I mean, there's not much left, but there's no
I'm sipping
bricking.
mine.
There's no bricking of this at all.
Mm-mm.
And it is fresh. It's still primary, flavors and aromatics. This can go a long time from now.
Correct. Absolutely. As I said, I've tasted some of the older wines. They drink beautifully. This is to me, over time, the tannins will soften even more, and but the fruit's still going to be there because it has nice acidity to it that will preserve the wine over a long period of time. And it's like a great Saint-Emilion. You can, if it's done well, it's going to be there for you, and it's going to deliver for you. Simple as that.
Absolutely. So, on your online store, what can somebody expect to pay for that bottle, for the Old Bridge?
This wine, I believe, is about $32, $35.
It's solid.
Which I believe is a great value given what you're getting.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
I wouldn't blink an eye at that, because it's a beautiful wine, and like you said, you can have a wonderful meal with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to cut through that steak. It's going to cut through that.
Absolutely.
You can see that with a nice steak.
Yeah.
And you'll be drinking something new, something exciting, something different.
Yeah.
And
it's just
tell your friends about it and brag to your friends about it.
Yes. And it's the structure, but it's so balanced with the fruit, the acidity, the tannins. There's definitely a lot of tannins in there. That was the first thing I got in my notes, much more tannic, but it is beautiful. I am so impressed. I really am.
And I'll tell the winemaker.
Yeah. Yes. And I think that you had, you mentioned it earlier about how, when years ago, our Armenian wines weren't really something that people were interested in, because it was more kind of, not necessarily bulk, but just more getting the wine out there and not so much quality. These two wines that we've tasted so far are phenomenal quality. I think that they're spectacular wines. They really are.
Absolutely. And again, this shows you diversity of the grape in the different hands. What can it be done given the same grape? But again, it's same with here. You can get Cabernet Sauvignon made from St. Helena compared to Cabernet Sauvignon made in Santa Barbara. They're all going to taste different.
Right.
It just depends on who's the winemaker, what do they want to do with it, and what they're trying to achieve.
So are these two bottles the wines that we've tasted come from the same region?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So they both come from the same region. The one that we're going to taste next comes from a different region.
Correct.
So what in this region is so spectacular to grow the Areni grape?
In you're talking about the first two area wines?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's their home. This is, Areni is, as I said, that's where it started, and it's grown throughout Armenia, and this is where they belong. This is their hometown. They have the hometown advantage, so to speak.
Okay.
The soil, the whole terroir comes into play with these grapes and with these wines. The soil, the air.
What's in the soil?
It's clay, and there's a lot of clay there and a lot of rock. Very rocky, mountainous
rocky.
area. The vineyards tend to be on a slope because these are mountainous, high elevation areas. So that's you're getting the nutrients from the soil. And during winter, there's snow on top of there's snow there all 2-3 months during the winter months.
Wow.
So it's a very cold, not a very hospitable area for anything. But these old vines, they do wonders in that climate, in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, are these like, are the Areni, is it like a bush vine? Are they trellised?
Trellis.
Or does it vary from winery to winery?
Mostly trellis.
Mostly trellised. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. So the last wine we're going to taste is the 130 Reserve. And that's because it's 130-year-old vines. Is that correct?
Correct. This winery, Voskeni is the name of the winery, Voskni. And this is from the Ararat region.
So this is from
This is the area.
So
this is the area which is
north?
to the left of the Biotzo region.
Oh, Ararat. Okay. So we are here.
So I read there was a guy from Boston that started this winery.
Yes, indeed. That's a very interesting, sad story, but interesting story.
Oh, well, share, because I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just briefly say that this is you are more central to the middle of the country as opposed to being southeast of the country. And elevation tends to be lower here than the southeastern region of the country. And if you look at it, this is the reason it's called Ararat region or Ararat Valley is because Mount Ararat overshadows the whole region.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So you're going to have a whole different environment. You're going to have a whole different climate there.
This guy on the label, his name was Sumpat. This guy comes to Boston around 1840s, 1850s, and immigrates to Boston and makes a lot of money in Boston. I'm not sure how he made his money, but he made a lot of money. He decides to go back to Armenia because he made it in the U.S. and wants to start a winery in Armenia. And he goes back to Armenia in the turn of the century, last century, around 1900, early 1900s, and buys a lot of land within Ararat Valley. But timing didn't help him. History didn't help him. Around 1914, 1915, the communist revolution happened, 1918. The communist revolution happens, and the communists take over Armenia, and they confiscated all his land, all his monies, and the guy dies penniless.
Oh, very sad.
Talk about bad luck. But about 80, 90 years later, his great-great-grandchildren decide to buy the lands back from the government.
Isn't that wonderful?
And today's Voskeni winery and the vineyards are on the same lands, on the same properties as their ancestor bought years ago, hoping to make great wine. Now they are making great wine. And
wow.
I think that's amazing story.
Absolutely. And how history doesn't deal us sometimes good hands, but someone else from the ancestor doing something about it and realizes his dreams.
Wow. Wow.
All right. So we're going to taste this.
And as far as the 130 is concerned, 130 refers to the 130-year-old vines that this winery has. they only make this particular wine from that vineyard.
Oh, okay.
These are very old, very low yielding vines, and these are bushes, by the way, and they make this phenomenal wine and age it for sometimes 2 years, sometimes 18 months in Caucasian oak barrels again, Armenian oak barrels again, and just it's a very effervescent. There's no bubbles there. Don't get me wrong, but it's a very fresh tasting wine. This wine to me has soul. It has a sense of time and a sense of place. There's no mistaking that this is where it's coming from.
Wow.
This is where it's coming from, Arad Valley, and it's
Way
there
different.
for you to enjoy. It's a very, I don't want to use the word sensuous, but it is to me.
This is a completely different wine.
Different. Yes, way different.
Correct.
Way different. Complex nose. I mean, I'm getting blackberry, black raspberry, ripe black raspberry, plum,
Yes.
clove, a little bit of
Clove is big time.
Mm-hmm. A lot of spices, yes.
Yes.
Again, different winemaker. More importantly, though, different region where these grapes are from, and very old wines.
It's very smooth.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Very smooth, but a lot going on.
Yeah. Right. Wow.
This is the winery's most expensive wine, and it's their top seller.
Wow.
So different.
Yeah. Yes. It is so complex. There's so much going on. The tannins are much more elegant. They're there, the structure is there, but it's where the old bridge needs that meal with it right now. That graininess that happens on your gums with the tannins. So those are very gripping tannins. These tannins are there, but they are smooth. They are silky tannins.
Yeah.
Wow. This is such a different wine. Oh my gosh.
Indeed.
You could have a cigar with this one.
Yeah, actually many have.
Yeah.
I don't do cigars. My husband does, but you could definitely.
It actually has to me it has that smoked meatiness to it.
Yes.
Wow. And I see on the label the Mundus Vini, it's got a gold medal in the Mundus Vini.
Correct. This wine consistently is highly awarded. Gets a lot of points, they submit these to a lot of European wine competitions, and they do very well.
I can see why.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you had said, so these are all kind of mom and pop or family run wineries. Correct. Are there also cooperatives in Armenia?
Not
in Armenia. I combined Areni and
but there are some very large wineries.
Okay.
That also produce the whole range of different wines at different price points, at different quality levels. There are those also. I personally prefer the small operations because
Absolutely.
You're getting something different, something unique. You're not getting something mass produced. Mm-hmm. Yet those are here as well, and we carry those too. I mean, I don't want to limit people's choices, but the ones we import directly are the smaller winery wines that are unique and express the wine with a point of view. People, you know what you're going to get because that's what the winemaker wants you to have. They're not trying to please everybody.
Right.
They are making wines that they want to make, that they believe their grapes will produce the best quality of that they're producing. Yeah, absolutely. But we have those also. I mean, there's some of these larger wineries, international cooperatives. When I say cooperative, I mean international large multinational company. They have wineries in Armenia also. And they are making some great wines, some okay wine. They run the whole gamut and the price point.
How many wineries are there in Armenia?
Since the interview started, they've added a few more.
That's an awesome
Really,
answer.
wineries are a growth industry in Armenia because of the location, availability of the grapes, quality of help, people working there, winemakers, and different people available there. There are so many wineries popping up. We get constantly contacted by people who want us to import their wine to the U.S.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, we've come from one extreme where there was really hardly anything good 15, 20 years ago, to where we are. We have the spoils of richness, so much great wine coming out of Armenia that it's a phenomenal time we're living. That's what I'm saying. We're going through some Armenian wine renaissance right now because of the availability of good quality wine that are coming out of there, thanks to the great winemakers.
Well, Evelyn has posted like tasting notes for this Old Vines, and the last sentence of it says develops a less intense woody character and more fruity flavors, and it it is like the tasting that I was reading through the tasting notes. It is really an amazing wine, and
Absolutely.
Stefan, this is a hat trick, man. This is 3 for 3 incredible wines. And
thank you.
When I first contacted you and you said you were going to send us 3 wines to explore the variations that the expressions can have, I was like, oh, like how much could there really, it's going to be a lighter body, a medium body, a heavier body, but that is not what these are. These are very, very different wines. And they're all, to me, Deb, do you agree? They're all kind of in that same body,
Yeah.
So it's not a heavily oaked influenced or a lightly oaked influence. It's really the expression of the fruit that's coming out inside each of these.
You're seeing the expression of the grape in each of these 3 wines. You're not, it's not being overpowered by oak. And it's just, they're wonderful. I mean, so anybody out here there that's watching this webinar or listening to the podcast on the replays and stuff, if you see Areni wines, with the Areni grapes on a wine list, don't hesitate to purchase the wine by the bottle or the glass, because you won't be disappointed at all.
And the wine I tried when I did the other podcast was a different wine, and that was exceptional also.
So it's pretty much wines from Armenia.
Wines of Armenia are really doing spectacular things. And I'm blown away by the differences. But this one is, I'm sorry, this is,
you know what? I like them all.
Me too.
As when you say, I want to say a porch pounder, but it's I think lighter in mouthfeel and
the Noah
than either one of the following ones.
Yeah.
And this one is really nice. This, you can, taste the you got the tannins, and it's a little bit more body, but this one takes the cake.
The 130, the 130.
Yeah. You can definitely, well, it's the vines. It's 130-year-old vines. You can just taste the history, the tannic structure in it. It's much more there, but
refined.
Elegant and
refined.
Yeah. I mean, the first.
What can I say, ladies? You have great taste.
These are incredible. And just what do you sell the 130 for?
That retails for $50.
And that's not bad at all.
Oh my God. People. $50.
Really...
This is an incredible. And Debbie knows I don't typically say this is a great wine or this is, and really neither does Debbie. Debbie is more about, the experience also. This is an incredible. All 3 wines are wonderful, but this one is so complex and just so dark and it's dark and mysterious. It's
Yeah, it is. You know what? It is dark and mysterious. That's
Yeah.
now I got a great title.
There you go.
Incredible. Incredible. So we do have to say though, what is your favorite pairing? And again, we've got 3 different expressions. So we've got 3 different meals types that can go with this. But what do you enjoy pairing an Areni wine with?
You know, to me, more than the food, it's always comes down to the company I'm with. You know, if I'm with the right person or right company, right friends, right family members, and doesn't matter what I'm pairing these great wines with, I'm going to enjoy myself. They're going to enjoy themselves. They will have a great time. But having said that, I think given the spiciness that you get from some from these wines, you can pair these with more spicy foods, and they will do well together, as well as fattiness from the old bridge, for example. By the way, this will hold up to steak as well very well. But I believe the old bridge will do very well with the fat, given the structure and the acidity that it has. So it all depends on what kind of state of mind you're in, or what you're looking for, and then you just have a great night. Enjoy yourself.
It won't be difficult to enjoy yourself with these wines.
No, not at all. Not at all. So that brings us to just about 9 o'clock here. So our hour has
Flew
gone
by.
quick. And this has been absolutely fantastic, because I am going to look for Armenian wines on a wine list when I go out.
And Stefan, can you just share with people again? Evelyn has been amazing as always, and has been sharing your Twitter link and your Instagram link and your website and Facebook, everything. Evelyn is incredible. But for people who are listening and not seeing, can you share a little bit about where they can find you on social media, how they can place an order for these incredible wines?
Well, thank you. I really enjoyed this. I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm glad these wines are getting the attention that they deserve. These and many, many, many other Armenian wines are available at, very simply, winesofarmenia.com. I like to keep things simple, and they're available. As I said, we ship to 43 states plus DC, and we offer free shipping on 6 or more bottles. These wines deserve the attention that wine lovers should give it to them. And again, winesofarmenia.com. And on social media, we're available on Instagram under Wines of Armenia, on Facebook, Wines of Armenia. Again, let's say simple and consistent, and we'll get these great wines to you.
Wonderful.
It is incredible.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, ladies. Enjoy the wines, and thanks for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for sharing these 3 wines with us. And honestly, like to taste through and see the differences between the 3 was such an experience for me. So I appreciate that. So
good.
Thank you.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
You too. And I have just a little bit left. This is actually the Noah, so I'm going to raise my glass. Say slancha, and thank you everybody for joining. And here's to Wines of Armenia and the Areni grape. Gracias.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.